Obi-Wan Kenobi standalone picture. Now that's a rumor I haven't heard in about 30 minutes. Everyone's going on about some Obi-Wan Kenobi standalone picture. I haven't heard anything of it. To me, it sounds like a bunch of mumbo-jumbo, as you might say. But what do I know? On with the Resistance broadcast.
If you're listening to this broadcast, you're a part of the Resistance.
Welcome back to the Resistance broadcast, where this week in Star Wars Wars, we'll debate whether Lucasfilm should even make a Kenobi movie. My name is John Hoey. Thanks so much for joining us today. Simon Kinberg writing a Star Wars movie? Do we need an heir apparent to John Williams? And do we want a Snoke book? We'll find out if the Force is with us in just a little bit. But let's say hi to James Baney, Patric, Covey, and Bill Sheehy. What's up, fellas?
Hey, Daisy Ridley was in that other movie, not Star Wars. What was it? Murder on the Kenobi Express.
Oh.
I don't think that's a movie.
It's gonna be. No, it's actually not gonna be a movie, to be true.
Yeah, that's true.
I thought it was all about the Razy Diddley. Apparently, I've been doing my research wrong.
Throwback.
Great to be back on the show.
I don't know about you guys, but I've been practicing my rendition of One Shining Moment in preparation for my upcoming win in This Is March Madness. So happy to be here. Let's talk some Star Wars.
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to lose a Star Wars war, you might as well try to win March Madness. Speaking of Star Wars March Madness, find our polls at hashtag Star Wars March Madness. Remember to vote on the polls, and they're for coolest Star Wars character, as it will be up to you to decide which characters move on each week in each round in our bracket tournament. And keep your eyes on your bracket to see how you're doing, because the person who submitted their bracket with the highest point total at the end of the tournament will win a Resistance broadcast t-shirt of your choice. For those of you who don't care about that and want to take the quick and easy path, you can buy a Resistance broadcast t-shirt at any time over at our store at tpublic.com/user/Resistance broadcast. I just got both of our Kylo Ren shirts in the mail yesterday, and the dark side of the Force is with me. But now, let's find out if the Force is with all of us. Bill, what do you got for us this week?
In the words of the late, great Samuel L. Jackson, take a seat. Our first story today, guys, is about Star Wars Rebel producer Simon Kinberg. He is apparently writing a Star Wars movie. He has written some hits like X-Men Days of Future Past and Sherlock Holmes, but he has also written, let's just call them clunkers, like 2015's Fan 4 Stick, or Fantastic Four, and the 2008 classic starring Anakin Skywalker himself, Jumper. So let me ask you guys this. Is the Force with you on Simon Kinberg writing a Star Wars anthology film, John Hoey?
Not really. I mean, I'm not impassioned on this, but I mean, he hasn't written anything that's like blown me away. So is he just getting this opportunity because of his connection through Lucasfilm? I'm not like dead set against it, but I'm leaning no, because it's a Star Wars movie. Like, there's got to be better writers they can find. So I just feel like it's one of those things where like, well, we know him and he asked for it and this and that. I'm leaning no, that the Force is really not with me.
Patric Covey, is the Force with you on Simon Kinberg writing a Star Wars movie?
I'm going to take my cash for my clunkers. Thank you very much. The Force is not with me since both those recent films were absolute flops. I don't know, maybe that was something to do with directorial vision. Maybe this guy is a perfectly fine writer and, you know, we're just throwing bad wind in his direction, and maybe he's a really cool dude at heart and we're missing out here. But you never know. With Kathleen Kennedy, you don't know if you're going to be on a project 2 weeks from now.
Gotcha. And James Baney, is the Force with you on Simon Kinberg?
Definitely agree with these guys. I don't really feel that excited about Simon Kinberg coming in. I know he's done some stuff, but I looked at his filmography today, like as a producer and even as a writer, and I'm like, man, you're like 1 in 3. Like you have like a few things in there that I'm like, I'll let that one slide, but it's like full of like X-Men and stuff that I'm just like, I don't like the X-Men movies. So even you're saying like he did some good stuff like the X-Men movies, and I'm like,
Days of Future Past was really good.
Yeah, I love that movie.
Yeah, you know it's funny, like I really got sucked in on First Class, and I thought it was really good, and then I bought it, and then I rewatched it, and I was like, this movie's really bad. I don't like this movie. And then I went and saw, Days of Futures Past, and I was like, this is awesome. And then like I kind of rewatched it again, and I was like, it's not that great. It's like okay at best. And then I was like, but I'm gonna get sucked into the last one, and I went and saw that last one, and it no wool over my eyes. I hated that last movie. I walked out of the theater and I even told the people who worked there, I was like, that movie sucked. But I don't know that he necessarily worked on the last one, but yeah. Anyway, getting back to the point, is Force with you now? Simon Kinberg, whatever.
I guess as I usually like to say sometimes, the Force is kind of met with me on this, because I love Days of Future Past, still do. But when you make a movie as bad as Fan4stick or Fantastic Four, I'm going to have a couple of reservations. But we'll see. He's doing the new Dark Phoenix movie. If that's good, I'll change my mind and I'll be on board. But the Force is with Matt a little bit on this one. All right.
Is the 4-stick with you?
The 4-stick is with me. Thank you. Is with me. All right. On to the next one. The man responsible for the lifeblood of Star Wars films, composer John Williams, has announced that Episode 9 will be his final contribution to the Star Wars saga, stepping away from the franchise after that film. Here's the pitch, guys. With John Williams leaving, Star Wars should find a mainstay composer once Williams leaves instead of having a different composer for every film. Is the Force with you on this, John?
Yes, with a caveat. So I say yes, but per series. So while I enjoyed what Giacchino did employing Williams' themes in Rogue One, I thought he did a terrific job. I think having one solid mainstay composer will create more fluidity throughout each series. So for example, Rian Johnson's trilogy, I think there should be one composer who composes that series so that they could take their themes for those characters, use them how they know to use them, and then the Benioff and Weiss series of films, have another composer tackle that. So do it that kind of way. You can't ask one composer to do 10 films in 10 years anyway for one franchise. So I think they should do it, but segmented by series of films so that person can kind of create their own 3-chapter thing and have their little journey. So I say yes, the Force is with me with that little caveat.
Great points, John. Is the Force with you on this, James Baney?
My thoughts on this originally were that I think that they should go single composer, until they found one that just fans were like, dude, that guy knocked it out of the park, bring him back. And then you kind of have him continue to return, and it gives a lot of different people opportunities to become that final person. But I actually changed my mind on it hearing what John had to say. I think you're absolutely right, John. You got to put one guy in charge of the 3 movies, or a trilogy, and let him do that thing. And then on the other hand of it, you got to have the individual composers come along for the series with the Benioff and Weiss stuff. Let one composer do the first film, let another one do the second, and then once that franchise finds its footing and we know where we're going, let a single composer do the last 2 or the last 3. And then those themes really close on the final few movies of that. So
can we timestamp March 12th, 2018?
I knew you were going to go there as the time that James Baney agreed with John. Yeah.
That's cute. That's very, very cute. I'm glad that mom and dad finally agree on something. All right. Pat, is the Force with you on this?
No, the Force is not with me on this. I like the concept of allowing multiple composers to come in and play in the Star Wars sandbox. I don't want this exclusive club of one mentality where, that guy Giacchino, he's the top dog, no one else is allowed in, Giacchino's the only person who could score this music. I want to hear differing themes. I want to hear different composing strategies brought into Star Wars. I want to see these different series in different ways. I want to hear these different themes and thematics that we've come to know with certain composers. You can tell how certain composers move their music regardless of what the film is about. You know that composer has their specific set of style and skills that they put into the music. They're little trademark things. So I definitely want to see that. This is going to sound kind of mean, but keep Hans Zimmer away, please.
I agree.
And also, Kevin Kiner, get this man in the cinematic setting. Kevin Kiner, the dude's already been engrossed in Star Wars for 2 animated series. If this guy gets the chance to move up to cinematic, if he doesn't take it, fans are gonna riot.
Maybe he'll do the Kinberg movie.
Yeah, we'll see. As far as where I stand on this, guys, I'm kind of down in the middle again. Because I feel like someone like Michael Giacchino should probably take over the saga films like 10, 11, and 12 after this, and then do what they've been doing with standalones where John Powell or Giacchino did Rogue One, and just do that. But I think there is some definite truth to what Pat said and some truth to what John said, because you want a cohesive thing that where a composer is able to like tell their story through 3 films, but at the same time you don't want it to be this exclusive club, which I completely agree with you guys, and The Force is kind of with meh. All right, so on to our final story. Andy Serkis sat down with Entertainment Weekly and said that he had spoken to both J.J. Abrams and Rian Johnson about Snoke's history, where he came from, and that he is likely around 200 years old or so. So Serkis acknowledges understanding some fan frustration with not knowing more about the mysterious villain, but said there is a purpose to that, as it allows for further exploration and layering at a further point. So here's my pitch to you guys. Lucasfilm should leave Snoke's backstory out of future films and address it in a Snoke novel down the line. James, is the Force with you on this?
Will Bill actually choose a side on this story, or will he say the Force is met with him again?
Okay.
Is the Force with you?
It's over. Okay, we got it. Anyway.
No, should they leave his backstory out of the future films and address it in a novel? I'm going to say no, the Force isn't with me. I don't really care where they put Snoke's backstory in. If they think it's important to go in a film, I'd love to see it in film if somehow he ties into that. But I think if they just want to kind of stay away from, they're like, look, we're not going to bring Snoke's backstory back into these films and all this other stuff. If we want to explore that character, we're going to do it like we normally do it, which is, you know, a little bit more on the novel side. I'm totally fine with that. I think it would be interesting to get like an early Snoke, like maybe this Snoke goes back, like we get a novel pre-Phantom Menace, you know what I mean? Maybe in some way he encounters Yoda, you know, maybe back then Snoke was a better person. So I don't know. I think that could be like an interesting novel, but to leave it out of the movies, I'm not saying don't do that. I'm not saying don't bring him back in. I think that could be cool. So Force is not with me. I don't care where you tell his backstory. I really hope that Alliances does well, so that we get Alliances 2, the Count Dooku and Snoke team up novel. That would be awesome. I don't know how they would do it.
A lot of
I don't know how they would
explaining
do it, but I think it would be sweet.
But with our Skittles with a lightsaber. Patric, Covey, is the Force with you on this?
The Force is actually with me. This character is definitely multi-layered, especially in the fans' interest. They want to know more about this guy, even though the directors have made it very clear, guys, this was just like a character we just had set in place so that Kylo could, they could further Kylo's story, do more with that character instead, which I totally appreciate them doing that. But at the same time, JJ set up this great character in Force Awakens, and I feel like if there's something they can do to explore it, a book is probably the best way to go so they're not under time constraint. You can really delve into some deeper stuff in a written novel. It would be kind of cool. And for all you know, Ezra or Ahsoka might run into Snoke, you know, in this 30-year gap before Force Awakens.
Absolutely. And finally, John Hoey, is the Force with you on the Snoke novel?
Yes.
Oh, cool.
Why? Because we don't need it, but it would be cool to have if we want to know about it, which is to me what Star Wars novels serve as a main purpose, in my opinion. I kind of like what James was saying, how we can explore that in a future film and get into that, and echoing what Pat was saying as well. But like with the argument about Palpatine and Return of the Jedi, no one cared where that guy came from. He was just evil, and he served his purpose, and that was it. And that's what Snoke was to me. I don't need to know everyone's backstory. That's like this new thing where we need origin stories. By the way, I can't wait to see Solo, a Star Wars story. But completely aside from that, I mean, that, speaking of Enfys Nest, you know, maybe we'll get Snoke's first name, and it'll be like Enfys Snoke or something.
Billy Bob Snoke.
Yeah.
Enfys
I hope you
Nest
listen to Monday's
Snoke.
episode.
You get over here.
Or Snoke Nest.
Snoke Nest.
Snoke Nest.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you listen to Monday's episode, I kind of went after Enfys Nest's name. Not a big fan. But yeah, long story short, I dig it for a novel. I think it works. Like kind of like the non-canon Plagueis novel, but everyone kind of liked that. So, yeah, the Force is with me.
Yeah, absolutely. And I agree with John and Patrick here. The Force is with me on this. I'm not going down the middle. So there you go, James. You can sit over there, take that seat, and just listen to what I got to say. And listening to the Last Jedi novelization, they've touched it a little bit. Not like where it like fully stays, okay, this is where he's from, but it touches it to the degree where you're like, oh, that's interesting. Tell me a little bit more about that. But before they do that, they go on to the story. So I'd be all for this. So the Force is definitely with me on this. Guys, that's all I've got for you today. Thank you so much for taking a seat. Now let me send it back to John for our Star Wars war.
Well, we took a hiatus on this, but it is back. It is time for Star Wars Wars.
I say we fight.
This week, we are going to debate, should they make an Obi-Wan Kenobi standalone film? And we have, I think, our first 2 versus 2 Star Wars Wars. Is that right, guys? Can we confirm that?
Sounds right. Yes, sir.
Okay. So this week, we have Pat and Bill on the side of they should make a Kenobi standalone film, and we have James and myself who believe they should not. Now, we'll give opening statements to each person just so the audience out there can get a vibe of what we're all about, but let's keep it quick so that we can take the gloves off and start brawling. So we'll start with Pat. Why should they make a Kenobi standalone film?
Ooh, starting off tough by picking me. Well, my opening statement will be that Kenobi is a character that was well explored in novels, television, and film. This is a character where we learned about his early history with some crazy stuff like Satine from the Clone Wars, all the way up beyond his death in the afterlife. But at one point in particular in his life, his time on Tatooine has not been fully explored, and I really want them to explore that timeline.
Okay, and your arguing partner this week, Bill Sheehy, why do we need a Kenobi standalone film?
This is a topic that's near and dear to my heart because the first article I ever did for any site, whether it be Star Wars Newsnet, was the 6 reasons that we need an Obi-Wan Kenobi film. So I'm going to mirror a little bit of Pat's thoughts. And I would also say that, sure, there's a rich history, but I don't think we know enough about the character and his time on Tatooine. There just seems to be so many good things going for the film, so many things that are just the perfect fit, whether it be the actor or the time period. It all works for me. And I think that with the right crew, and I think they would put together the right crew, they could make an amazing movie.
All right, now for the other side. The two of us who feel like they should not make this movie. James, why should they not make a Kenobi film?
I think like right off the top of my head, like, you know, Pat's saying there's one area of time that hasn't been explored. And all I hear is like, as if a guy lived for 2 days and we heard the first day and we heard the second day, but we didn't hear about that sweet spot between midnight and 8 a.m. when he was sleeping. Like, it's like, that's the most boring random
127
time.
hours.
Like, I don't want to hear that story.
He got his arm stuck in a rock.
So, I mean, he's not supposed to be doing anything during this time period. So, I mean, I just say, like, just leave it. Just let him be what he was supposed to be, a guy abandoned watching over.
Yeah, I'm echoing that from a few perspectives, not only just the story perspective, but I think now from a business perspective, kind of where we're at with the vibe of these standalone films, potentially what is going to happen with the outcome of Solo, and just my personal feelings about it. I'll get into why I feel like it's not going to, not only do I think they shouldn't make it, but why I think it won't happen. But let's have at it. Let's have a Star Wars war. Should they make a Kenobi film or not? Let's get into it.
All right, guys, here. So this is Kathleen Kennedy around the Rogue One era when it was coming out, and she said there are possible movies that we've been talking about, but we are planning to sit down in January since we will have had The Force Awakens released and now Rogue One, and we finished shooting Episode 8. We have enough information where we can step back a little bit and say, what are we doing? What feels exciting? And what are some of the things that we want to explore? So I'm asking you guys, like, just ask yourself, is this the best place for the fandom? In a world where where we as diehards are generally trying to say, move away from the original trilogy era, who walks away from this movie and is like, yes, finally, we got exactly what this franchise needed? You know, is this the common Star Wars fan, or is this someone in a Star Wars bubble, the same one who's asking for the Salacious Crumb trilogy?
Well, I mean, John's on your side, so I mean, I don't necessarily.
But he's not asking for a Salacious Crumb trilogy.
Well, here's the thing: the way that I see it, you have too many things in play that just it makes sense for this to happen. One, you have the perfect actor. You don't need to recast some young or some older actor as Obi-Wan Kenobi. You don't have an Alden Ehrenreich situation. You have Ewan McGregor, who has not only played the role, has played it more than Alec Guinness, but has been a fan favorite from the prequels. And whenever you sit down and you
fan favorite,
okay,
air quotes.
Listen, every time anybody say what you will about the prequels, but the common theme throughout is that
Ian McDiarmid was the best part of the trilogy.
I know that from a certain point of view, yes, but what the people on my side are saying is that Ewan McGregor was one of the bright spots of the prequels.
Okay.
And with the interviews that he's done,
because those movies were awesome.
Are you trying to bash the prequels, John?
Yes.
Is that where you're trying to go? Okay,
Is that a
fine.
thing?
Bash the prequels. You have the right actor. And not only that, I think you can bring back some other actors from the prequels as well. I mean, you Joel Edgerton has talked about wanting to play Owen at some point, which I think seeing, because you don't go from like mild-mannered Owen in Episode 2 and Episode 3 to, okay, I hate everything about the Jedi, Uncle Owen in Episode 4.
But what's best for the franchise, man? You're saying let's branch off of the prequels versus let's branch off of the original trilogy.
Let me challenge your point real quick. So I understand that the whole it makes too much sense thing because everyone loves Ewan McGregor. He's the perfect age for it. It fits. But I don't think that should be the reason to make a movie.
No. That's
because you said that was reason
that's not
one.
My soul.
You said that was reason one.
That was one of. Okay, let me rephrase. It was one of my reasons.
So you're saying we have the actor, so let's try to figure out a story because we have the actor. That's backwards.
There's plenty of time to figure out a story.
No. I feel like there's so many years to work with in there. And
there is.
We know from the comics he wasn't just standing there, and we know from Rebels he wasn't just standing there. Sure, he was looking over Luke's shoulder all the time, but there is so much potential there to me.
Then why, when he met Luke, not when he met Luke, but why when Luke found him, he said Obi-Wan Kenobi? That's a name I haven't heard in a long time.
Just because he hasn't been Obi-Wan,
this is a guy who's so removed from everything that he doesn't even recognize the name anymore.
Just because he's using he's not using his old name doesn't mean he's not doing Jedi things. I mean, you when you look at the time period, it's kind of the Jedi are being hunted. He's been betrayed by his brother, someone he perceived as his brother. I think there's some like emotional and like really dramatic
what about at the
stuff
end of
in
Episode 3 when Yoda said we should go into hiding until the right time? Like Obi-Wan's gonna
I mean,
go
just
against that and be like, you know what? I'm gonna do some Jedi things on this desert planet for a while, just cause.
He's not going to stay in place, and even as we saw him from a certain point of view, Yoda didn't stay in place. He was constantly
But then
doing
also,
stuff
Bill,
on
your
Dagobah.
second point was, we have Joel Edgerton
Constantly doing stuff on
Yeah.
Dagobah.
No, okay.
But everybody wants him to
you're
leave
saying-
We
Tatooine.
never
You're-
said
you're
we never
saying-
said he
you're-
had to leave the planet.
Yeah, you're saying that one of my main points is, Joel Edgerton wants to be in it. No, I just think that the story.
That was your second point.
My second. Well, it was putting words into my mouth. But the fact that you have these actors that want to get into it is a strength for me. But you also have the potential for a lot of really, really cool, emotional, in-depth things from Obi-Wan that we haven't really seen.
Okay, in terms of the personal attachment, like I would love to see McGregor play Obi-Wan again too, and I think we still might, but somewhere else, not in his own movie. Like there's no reason to say we might not see Ewan McGregor show up as Obi-Wan Kenobi somewhere else, and that would fit that need, which means you wouldn't need that movie. Like I could see him coming back even in Favreau's live-action TV series, which I was saying earlier that I think they may pepper Darth Vader into that to try to sell things. And if you add Obi-Wan Kenobi into that somewhere, that'll sell too. It'll bring people to the streaming service. But, I mean, it'll serve that need that you're saying is, we have Ewan, he wants to do it, he'd love to do it, and it would still not, you wouldn't have to make this whole movie about Obi-Wan Kenobi while he's supposed to be in exile.
I
feel
hear
like-
from a lot of people that they want to hear they want to see a think piece, like, his meditation where he's at. He just lost all of, his friends.
I said that.
all of his
I
buddies
said that,
and stuff.
And I kind of changed my tune on it because I felt like I was in Bill's camp where I was like, I just want this so bad because it makes sense. And I've detached myself from that.
It still doesn't make sense, and I think that's our point, is that there's real life factors like, we could get an actor, but you could get an actor for any movie, and then that's Jyn Erso.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We have an actor that can play Jyn Erso, so the fact that we have an actor that can play Obi-Wan doesn't mean we have to make the Obi-Wan movie. But I want to go back to that think piece thing real quick, like, nobody wants a think piece Star Wars movie. We argued a couple weeks ago that nobody wants an R-rated movie. So if you don't want an R-rated movie, then you don't get genre film. You
Star
can't have
Wars
think
is
piece
going
and
to get
romantic
old
comedy
and
and all this
stale.
other stuff.
Star Wars is going to get old and stale if you just keep on doing the
So
same
let's
thing
make a movie
over
about
and
an
over.
Yeah, but
old
we're
style
not-
guy in the
exactly.
desert.
No.
My point
but
is
here's
that
the
we're
thing.
not ready for that yet.
you can
People aren't
have-
even ready to get the R
One at
rating
a time.
on it,
And
let alone
I'm not
go
saying
down
you
this.
make the R-rated
genre.
Obi-Wan movie.
No, I'm not saying that
but
either.
here's the thing. I mean, I think if we've learned anything from comic book movies in the past year, Logan was one of my favorite is probably one of my favorite comic book movie of all time because it was so different. It felt like a really, really good Western, and I don't usually like Westerns, but it was just so emotional and raw. It felt like something completely different, but it was in a universe that felt familiar. I think you don't necessarily need to do the R rating because I don't think that would work for Obi-Wan.
Yeah.
But you can do something.
Which I'm not saying.
Yeah. You can do something similar to that and still make it just make it feel like Star Wars.
Pat,
And it's still the
Pat,
same
Pat, let me
character.
a-
It's still
Pat,
is.
Let me ask you something. What would be a good Obi-Wan Kenobi movie? Like, pretend I'm Kathleen Kennedy. Pitch me a story for an Obi-Wan Kenobi standalone movie.
All right, picture this. I got to start with that every time when you're pitching
The
a movie.
aristocrats.
Picture this. I know a bunch of you have read the Marvel comics regarding Obi-Wan Kenobi in those journals of Ben Kenobi. I know James especially has really dived into that because we talked about that a couple weeks ago as to kind of introing this actual debate tonight. And that is, back in that time, there's a lot of stuff going on. Well, he's there early on in Tatooine, early in Luke's life, but there's like a 10-year gap between there and then when we see him again in Rebels. And I, personally, to me, I feel like Obi-Wan is more of a emotionally broken man during those days, and then when we see him again in Rebels, he almost has like this sense of calm and peace, and there's something different about him. He's a changed
Pat,
man.
but who goes to see?
I feel like there's
Pat,
something
who
there.
goes to see?
You have to. I'm not saying it's a think piece. He has to go through some sort of trial, not necessarily of the Force, but a trial of who he is as a man.
Pat,
What is
Pat.
he going through?
And not only that,
Hold
and
on,
I talk.
Hold on.
Okay,
Who-
go
who-
ahead.
Who goes to
Go
see?
ahead.
Who goes to see Star Wars movies?
Everyone.
Okay, but
Literally everyone.
mainly families, right? Kids. families?
Generally
Okay.
families.
I mean, you're gonna wipe out the whole youth audience if you're gonna try to do some kind of solitude, sad, solemn.
What was
think
Rebels?
piece.
What was Rebels?
why-
Rebels was the trials of a boy named Ezra who grew up.
Pat,
Same
Rebels
concept.
was a Y7 cartoon. You're talking about doing a think
Okay,
piece about a
now
solemn man.
It's
and
still
Ezra.
Star
now
Wars.
it feels like you're
The rating
belittling
means
Rebels
nothing.
because it's only for
You
kids.
asked me for story. You asked me for story. You didn't ask me for rating.
Okay, so you want to do an Obi-Wan, he's in the desert by himself story that is this in the similar vein as Rebels?
I never said he had to be alone. I said he had to go through certain trials.
He has to go through a trial. What kind of a trial are we talking? Are we talking like a temple that opens up and he needs to Indiana Jones his way through it? Or
This is
are
a
we
trial-
talking like a creature comes and threatens Luke and he needs to defeat that? Or
Jedi
Vader
have been-
shows up? What's your trial?
Vader
So
wouldn't
here's
make
the
He has to
thing.
find out what
Jedi-
first name he wants to go by, and then at the end he settles
Jedi
on
are
Ben.
taught from a young age to be selfless. Jedi are selfless. This is the first time in Obi-Wan's life he is truly and deeply by himself, having to learn things by himself. Of course, he has the Force presence of, Yoda talking to him through the Force and Qui-Gon occasionally, but this is the point where he has to learn how to truly survive.
So by himself.
As
so is
himself.
he going to have a volleyball
By
there
himself,
with him
but-
to talk to?
Okay, no.
No, this is not Castaway.
Now you're
It
turning
basically
into something it's
is
not.
Castaway, and you guys are trying to make
No, no,
it
no,
an
no, no.
interesting story.
No, because I like some of what Pat's saying, but to me, what I think would make a compelling story is someone is after Luke, a former Jedi, let's say Quinlan Vos, who we've already know has gone to the dark side at some point, or has dabbled
and
with
he's
the dark
disappeared.
side.
We don't know where he's gone.
We figure out that, he's doing the bounty hunter thing. He finds out through some way, he uses the Force, he figures it out that these kids are the offspring of Anakin Skywalker and Padme. And after Vader destroyed the Jedi, after Anakin destroyed the Jedi, he's out for revenge and wants to kill the offspring of Anakin Skywalker. I think that could be a cool thing where it shows that he's protecting Luke, he's protecting for somebody from who would actually be a threat. But who would
That sounds good, but what if Kathleen Kennedy hears that pitch and says, I don't know who Quinlan Vos is. That's way too inside baseball. Our audience isn't going to know who that is.
Secret brother of
that
Dragon
you could
Voss.
easily easily introduce it. Just say Dark Jedi
Easily.
after Luke. It's not hard to convey that to a general audience.
Dark Jedi?
Or
yeah,
why not?
Like you're saying someone who used to be on the Jedi, but now he's not.
Yeah.
He's evil.
Yeah.
But not necessarily a Sith.
I don't like the idea of like an action adventure old man Kenobi thing. Like him fighting Voss to me just seems like it's a bigger event that's not what he was doing. Like I think
and he wasn't
I'm not normally the person
before Rebels.
that
He wasn't
doesn't-
fighting Maul in the desert, so we can obviously do different and cool things with it.
But that wasn't his place either. Ezra brought that to him, and he said, "I don't want to have to kill Maul.
Well, where
I'm
do you
going
think he
to
learned?
have to
Well, I mean,
now that you've done that."
Maybe he had to kill Voss, and that's kind of like how he learned his lesson. Listen, I'm just spitballing here, but I think that just by this is me just spitballing stuff. I think there's interesting stuff to be told.
All right,
there.
now story aside, I want to introduce another element to this, and it's called dollars. And Han Solo, I think most people would say, is a more popular figure than Obi-Wan Kenobi to most fans. If this movie doesn't do well for a Star Wars movie, what is an Obi-Wan?
The Han Solo movie?
Yeah. What if it ducks out at like 260 and domestic, and it doesn't do that great? It doesn't get the greatest ratings, whatever, even with the stacked cast with Ron Howard, with Larry Kazdan, whatever. What is that going to say about, but now we're going to follow up with an Obi-Wan Kenobi movie?
Well, now you're talking about hypotheticals.
No, I'm not.
So I mean,
no, I'm not at all.
Well, no,
I'm
talking about Bob Iger saying
I think this
movie tanked. It shouldn't have.
It's not going to tank. So I mean,
It's not going
okay.
to.
At the end
But
of
for
the day,
a
it's
Star
a
Wars movie. If
it's a
Han
Star
Solo comes
Wars
in at
movie.
260 million, that's a failure, especially for the
It's
budget.
not going to.
That's
We
a
got
failure.
the characters that
Yeah.
Especially for the
We got
budget that we know
characters
this movie had to undertake with the reshoots.
we got with Rogue One. We got characters that we had no idea who they were, and it still did really, really, really well. So I don't think that you're going to see that with Solo.
Do you think that Han Solo is going to beat what
No.
Rogue One did?
I think it'll
Not even
it
close.
may match it. I think it may match it.
It'll
I think
get
you guys
pretty
are
close, yeah.
I think you're
It
underestimating
may match it. So you think that it may match it. All right, that's fine. Let's go with that for a second. So then you think like a Yoda or a Boba Fett or a Kenobi movie would pull people in more than a Han Solo movie or less?
I think
You think
It
more
really
the
just
same.
depends
I mean,
on the angle they're approaching
yeah.
it, really.
because
But
once again,
Kenobi and Yoda are less profitable or less known names than the name Han Solo.
I wouldn't
let-
say
I
that.
wouldn't
Yoda is
either.
like one of the biggest
Let me bring
marketing
up one
ventures
more
in
point
history.
about this. I think it was last May. Kathleen Kennedy, everything was all good. We have Lord and Miller, they're killing it. Solo went to Ventura, they're filming there. She's like, in a month or so, we're going to announce the third standalone movie.
In July,
Yeah.
she said.
Then they fire the directors. They have to get Ron Howard in to fix this thing. Solo all of a sudden isn't a guaranteed goldmine cash cow, and then we never heard from her again.
You know what's actually
Well,
funny about
I
that?
think that's
that
more
whole like thing that you just brought up. She didn't really even say that. The guy back when that interview happened, the MTV reporter said, "How soon can we expect the next spin-off announcement? My money is on, as many fans are, an Obi-Wan movie." This was her response. "I think we're getting close. My hope would be sometime around the summer. I never want to predict the creative process because it's its own thing. So we're in the midst of those discussions right now." You know what the article name for that was? It was The Last Jedi producer Kathleen Kennedy talks about the very real possibility of an Obi-Wan spin-off movie. No, she didn't.
Nope.
Had nothing to do with Obi-Wan. He said that his money was on an Obi-Wan movie, and she said, to answer your question, we're in talks about discussing the next standalone. I'm hoping by the summer. Has nothing to do with Obi-Wan. Obi-Wan was never in the cards.
That's not necessarily
she
true.
didn't-
That's a
she-
PR move.
She didn't say that it wasn't in the card. She just said
She didn't
we're
say
working
yes
on
or
our
no.
next move. So
what
I
I'm
mean,
saying is that everybody seems to think that we were on the road to get this Kenobi movie because the way he proposed the question is his money's on Obi-Wan. When are we going to get it? And she said, I'm hoping to make an announcement by summer.
Here's the
well,
difference,
then,
though.
but then
not-
everything
that's not the
happened with
answer.
Solo. So I mean, they obviously had a PR nightmare, and they were trying to get rid of that. So I mean, they
But
fixed
Solo
it.
has been announced for a long time.
But it's been
That
announced.
We're not
but-
talking about Solo.
No,
here.
no. But like, just because it hasn't been announced doesn't mean that it's not in the pipeline.
Yeah, and then we got the news about Stephen Daldry in August, so
Yeah, but
that was
what
a
I'm
real
saying
possibility.
is, why
that
do
something
you
was
think
being
it's in the
solid.
pipeline? There's no evidence to prove that it's in the pipeline.
But there's no evidence to prove that it's not.
Why would you bring up Stephen Daldry if there wasn't something there?
I know, but okay, well then the Ahsoka movie's coming out this summer.
Whoa, really?
Like,
It's-
there's no evidence to prove that,
There's-
that it's
there's-
not happening.
I'm still waiting for Bill and Pat to give me a good Obi-Wan story. I haven't heard that yet. And I'm also
Well, I'm still waiting
I'm
for-
also trying to
Well, they're not writing it in their defense.
Yeah, but if they want
know?
it so bad, they must have an idea of a story they want. And two,
I just came up with one.
And two, that was horrendous. I even forgot. I
Was
forgot.
it
I
really?
forgot what it was. It was so bad.
Well, you're just because you're on the other side, you're trying to win, but you know, it's
No, and the other one is just the dollars and cents. Like I said, like if Solo sputters, there's no chance an Obi-Wan Kenobi movie would do better than it would.
Yeah, there might not even be a chance of another spinoff at that
See,
point.
there you go, Pat.
So, but that has nothing to do with Kenobi. That just has the fact of Solo's performance. That's Solo's
they've
performance.
already
problem.
announced Ryan Johnson's trilogy and the Benny and Weiss one. I don't think they're not doing
But that's
any.
not. Those aren't spin-offs. Those are
No,
series
yeah.
or trilogies.
I think what Pat is saying is right. Is they're testing the water with Han Solo, which is the most profitable one. And if Han Solo makes money, then they're like, cool, maybe we can move forward with some of these other standalone characters and do their own movies. But if Han Solo doesn't, they're not gonna put money into another standalone movie with a lesser known or lesser.
exactly.
What are you? Whose team are you
That's
on,
why
dude?
they're holding. That's why they're holding back from making an official announcement. They really want to make sure that this is the right direction to go. Because from an executive or business standpoint, you want these spinoffs individually. You want them to perform well, regardless of what it is.
I think they're ready to say goodbye to the whole something a Star Wars story. One, because it's too long to say, and two, it's annoying to type and then put it into italics. And
Well, if you're writing articles every day, of course, yeah.
I do. All joking aside, I think Rogue One, very successful. Han Solo, we'll see. But you would imagine that we would have heard something if they were confident in an Obi-Wan film by now. That's the only thing. You would imagine we would have heard something. And I was, if you listen to older episodes, I was all about an Obi-Wan film because of the fan service in me. I wanted more McGregor as Obi-Wan. I understand, Bill, he was your favorite character, Obi-Wan Kenobi. You
Mine
bought
too.
our t-shirt that says High Ground because you love Obi-Wan Kenobi. I would love to see him again. Now, like I said, maybe we could see him in that live action series. It doesn't mean if we don't get a Kenobi film that we can't see him again. So that might serve that need that we all kind of have for a fan service without having to force upon us an Obi-Wan Kenobi standalone movie.
And here's kind of how I see it. Like, just because like Pat or I can't come up with a good story right now doesn't mean that. Yeah, exactly. Doesn't mean that
we're not writers, though. We're not movie writers.
Dave Filoni or any other writer could come up with a really compelling.
I understand.
Compelling story for it. So that I understand what you're saying, but I just think that there's so much that where there's so much writing against the Han Solo movie. I think there's so much writing for an Obi-Wan Kenobi movie in terms of just you get the right people, you have the right actors. You just get the right story, and there you go. You can make a compelling story.
The team's already setting
make a
itself
compelling story out of a time period where the story has for years been that nothing happened. That was kind of the point that after Revenge of the Sith, Kenobi was sent away and nothing happened.
Then why have a Rogue One movie or why have a Solo movie if nothing happened?
Well,
because those things did happen.
Well, yeah, so there you go. So the things that with Kenobi happened too.
James means
what I'm saying is even
Kenobi himself.
Kenobi, yeah.
I mean, I like mystery as much as the next person.
Crawl of even the crawl of A New Hope said they just won their first major victory against the evil Galactic Empire. I mean, that means that day one Star Wars airing, they already told us that there was stuff going on before this. But like his story in that same movie was that like oh, he's just an old hermit. Nothing exciting happened. He's always been there.
But why? What made him that hermit?
He's been there.
What made him that hermit?
He's been there for 20
Revenge
years.
Of the Sith.
And Luke has probably remembered.
That's what made him.
Luke has probably remembered him for at least 12 or 7 or let's do.
He knows him
10.
as old Ben, a crazy old wizard.
Yeah, exactly.
How did they know he's a crazy old wizard? That's not been flushed out all the way. Was that just something that Owen told him, or was that something that was like well known around the community?
Because
we don't know
Obi-Wan just brought him his nephew, and like why does he hate him so much? He brought him somebody that he loves and wants to take care of. So I just
Bill, are you turning on me?
No, I'm not turning on you. I'm on your team.
Now, I like mystery as much as the next Scooby-Doo fan, but there's more. There's something obviously more there. I feel like there's just something missing. Now, if you were to give me something compelling that's, like you guys were saying, something in a TV series that necessarily isn't film length, but still satiates our love of the character of Kenobi and still... No, there's something transitional there. It's not locking. It's like a locked
Pat,
door.
That's fine.
We got to figure out what it is.
Look, if you think there's something there and they can tell that story in a $3 comic book,
no.
That's fine. If they want to explore it. That's not what we're arguing. We're saying the only way to explore this character and the best way to do it is to put together a $120 million film.
Yep.
And that's the only option in this argument is, should they make the Kenobi movie? There's this weird little thing about, and they never really explained how people know he's a wizard. You know what? We need to create a movie that's just as epic and engaging as Rogue One.
I have to admit,
all these other movies.
I would give me 90 to 120 minutes of him looking through a name book and finding out what he should call himself. That is compelling. That is compelling.
Y'all are just looking at it the wrong way.
Hold on, Bill, I'm not done. And then the end, he's on a page, and he looks up at the twin sun setting, and he says, "I'm gonna call myself Ben."
It's funny. I know you're joking, but at the same time, like that's one of the things that I hear from people that want a Kenobi movie. Like, what caused him to change his name to Ben? It's like, You really want to explore that?
No.
You want a 2-hour film to explore
be
that?
clear.
I know you're joking, but I've heard that. I've heard that there's these missing components. I mean, Pat's even arguing there's these things about the wizard and why is he called a wizard and why did he change his name to Ben? And I'm like, you want to go there? You want to create a movie that's going to draw people in? Yeah. I mean, that's a footnote in a visual dictionary somewhere.
And like straight up, dude, do we need an Obi-Wan Kenobi movie?
dude.
It's just, just dudes being bros,
Just dudes being bros. In terms of furthering the character, I would say no. But in terms of this battle, yes.
Okay, when did this become a 3-on-1?
3-1.
When did this become a 3-on-1? Oh God. Okay, whatever. It's okay. I'm gonna take that knife out of my back real quick, and then we'll talk after.
Bill, I love your music group, The Lonely Island.
Thank you. You know what? Once again, cool guys don't look at explosions. The Solo story.
Bill, and I don't know if we're arguing with Pat anymore. I mean, do you think this diminishes his character? Like, you don't think that there's saying that he went into this place and he was in isolation for 20 years. Oh, except for that time he had this crazy full on-screen cinematic thing. Like, you don't think that takes away from what they tried to set up in A New Hope and then
I think you can enrich that.
Reestablished in Revenge of the Sith.
I think you can enrich that. I think that you can make it better, because when you look at Obi-Wan in terms of where he is in the films, Alec Guinness had, I don't know what the specific screen time is, but he's not really fully we don't know all of his backstory and some of the things that he was doing. So for me personally, and I know like what this is Star Wars War and we're talking about why we want an Obi-Wan movie, I think that having that backstory and having a little bit of what he was doing on Tatooine I think it's incredibly important, because to go back to your further point, to your earlier point, where we didn't know what was happening or blah blah blah. We didn't know what was happening with Han Solo either, but we're having a 2.5 hour long movie, $120 million movie about him. So I think.
But I'll tell you what was happening with Han Solo. He definitely wasn't sitting in the desert.
But he did.
Like, I think it's pretty well established that he was smuggling and sneaking around.
One other point,
there are
scumbag.
still, and listen, just because he's on one planet does not mean that he can do some really, really cool and really, really kind of interesting
I have
stuff.
one other analogy for you. That, to me, this is like, we get a movie, it doesn't matter what it's about, but at the end of the movie, one of the characters goes into solitary confinement. He gets put away there for like 20 years or something, right? Then when we get the sequel to that movie, they show 20 years later and he comes out of solitary confinement and he's a different person, and people really latch onto that and they're like, man, this guy was cool, but what made him that way? What was he doing in solitary confinement that whole time? And then try to go back and like add another movie like somewhere where it's like, it's the untold story of when he was in solitary confinement and he became this thing where he actually escaped. He got out and he had a whole adventure on the outside of the jail, and then he came back.
I don't think the analogy works, because he wasn't. I mean, solitary confinement.
He was trapped on that planet.
He wasn't like trapped in one room.
He's not trapped.
Right, Bill,
he was doing his own.
I mean,
thing.
Bill, what about?
I think he's in fear of being found.
How about the people who say they want?
He went into
hiding. How about the people who say they want Vader involved too? And
no. Once again, it's all about the right people doing the. There's plenty of room for really, really cool story. I don't think Vader would make sense in it, because
good.
It wouldn't make any sense.
Right,
yeah,
good. Because imagine Vader on the Death Star. I sense something, a presence I haven't felt since Thursday.
That meeting between Obi-Wan and Vader has to like they can't have seen each other like a week ago.
Okay, all right. So you guys aren't completely.
So Anakin hates sand. He doesn't want to go back.
Yeah, no. I think
just a little crazy.
And I wouldn't even say a little crazy, because I think you look at a
couple of crazy young wizards,
just a couple crazy millennials out here. But I think if you polled the Star Wars community right now, I think you'd probably get a majority want an Obi-Wan Kenobi movie, and I think that
I agree as well.
I think that once again, Dave Filoni.
But why?
I don't. You know what?
There's something
That's what
alluring
they-
about it. There's something
If
alluring.
you want a Kenobi movie, listeners, just listen to what we're saying and
No,
think about it.
let's- you know
Why
what?
do you really want
Let's
it?
put a poll out there. Poll next week. Do you
Let's
want
make
an
it
Obi-Wan
happen.
Kenobi movie?
I mean, we have a lot of polls to run with the Star Wars March Madness.
Yeah.
The next poll
Yeah.
that we do.
Maybe we'll do
and
it.
If the fans speak and they say I definitively do not want an Obi-Wan Kenobi movie, I'll drop it. But I think there is just too much
And then,
good stuff in
then
there.
we'll talk about should we
For-
have a Qui-Gon movie.
You know what? Why not? Bring
I think
Taken meets
that's-
Star
you can
Wars.
Get Liam Neeson and then put him in a movie and
Yeah.
then come up with a
He
story.
already said he would do.
afterwards.
We
He
have
already
the
said
perfect
he would come back
opportunity
and do
right
Kenobi.
now.
He said he would come
Yeah.
back and do Kenobi and do some Force Ghost stuff,
Yeah, 'cause he wants a
or
paycheck.
in this case,
You can
'cause of
only
the
do his
character,
voice. You can only do his voice.
Voiceover, yeah.
You can only
voiceover.
do
Wait a
Taken
minute, but-
sequels for so long, Pat.
That's true.
Yeah, that guy who played the background character in Jabba's palace is still alive. Like,
That's
let's
true.
use the
Okay,
opportunity.
that's
You're
true.
comparing you're comparing apples and pig demons. So
Dude,
But
they
the
still
thing
have
is-
the
is-
Sarlacc
and this-
puppet. They still have that Sarlacc
Yeah.
puppet.
This is gonna be my like main point, and I'll probably end up leaving on this, like the beloved character thing, right? You're saying like you can't compare Kenobi to the background character of this, but we are getting a movie with a beloved character, Han Solo, and you know how the the fans are treating it? Don't want it. Never ask for it. Why, Lucasfilm? Why would you do this to us? We don't want to know these untold stories. We're sick of it. We want what we
I
really
think you're
want
wrong
is
about Obi, man.
Kenobi.
I really think you're wrong
here's-
about Obi.
But you know what? In a separate conversation, ask anybody what they want from like a cool like television series or like a standalone movie. They say Underworld, 1313, Bounty Hunter, gritty gangster stuff, you know? And then guess what? Guess who fits that? Han Solo. He fits all those categories.
So why isn't he on
That is a
TV?
story that's easily told.
Why
That
isn't
they
he
could,
on
They could
TV
go
then?
into all that
I
stuff.
think-
But you know what? The fans don't want
No,
it. They want
no.
the Kenobi movie, man. They want the one where the character's been clearly established as a hermit. They want the movie where he's been so removed he doesn't even
Blah,
go by that name
blah,
anymore.
blah,
He's been in
blah,
isolation.
blah,
Do we
That's
take-
the story
All
we
right, so we're
want.
gonna take that as James' closing argument then, and we should wrap it up. So, Bill, what is your closing argument on why we should have a Kenobi movie?
Okay, my closing argument. For over 1,000 generations, the Jedi Knights were guardians of peace and justice in the Old Republic before the Dark Times. And while I was on Tatooine, I was a badass Jedi who can do everything. So there's some closing thoughts.
Okay, so
for
Obi-Wan
you.
Kenobi can build sandcastles. Pat, what is your closing argument for why they should make an Obi-Wan Kenobi standalone movie?
If the fans were so pushy to make Underworld a TV show, then why isn't Solo a TV show in the first place? And Kenobi is the cinematic experience. I'm not dissing on Solo here. I think I'm going to really enjoy that film. But if the fans are really wanting to go that direction, why didn't it go to TV in the first place? That's my big gripe.
All right, so that's your gripe, but why should they make a Kenobi standalone movie?
It's a no-brainer. There's a decade of time where he can do anything.
2 decades.
Almost 2 decades, but from where we saw him last in the Marvel Comics Journals of Ben Kenobi up to Rebels, that's about a decade or a little over a decade. So there's a lot of room to play in there. It's not like James was saying where it's like what happened between midnight 8 a.m. No, there's a couple weeks and months in there too. So
Okay.
there's more room to play.
My final point is the bullet points here. Story-wise, I don't see anything compelling that they can do without taking him away from what he was there to do. I personally, aside from like wanting the fan service of seeing Ewan McGregor again with the robe and all that stuff, if I remove that, I have nothing to bring forth that they should make a movie out of this. And finally, just financially, I don't know that Han Solo is going to do great. It will do great for a normal movie. I don't know that it will do great for a Star Wars movie, and I don't imagine an Obi-Wan Kenobi movie doing better than a Han Solo movie. And I'm thinking Kathleen Kennedy may be thinking that. So all those things combined, I just don't think they should do it. But I would be totally down with rectifying that fan service by bringing Obi-Wan Kenobi back with Ewan McGregor in the TV series or somewhere else where he doesn't need his own film to himself, which Obi-Wan Kenobi was never a main character, so there was no reason for him to have his own movie.
If somebody goes to Tatooine and Ewan McGregor is there, much like he is in Rebels, and he makes an appearance or something like that,
that'd be cool. Yeah.
That would be fine. But like, I don't think he needs his own adventure.
Now,
go ahead, Bill.
Let me. So let me.
Final
paint
thoughts
this.
are hard.
They are
secondary closing statements.
I can name you at least 4 people who would be the first in line if an Obi-Wan Kenobi movie happens. James Baney, Patric Covey, John Hoey, Bill Sheehy.
I'm also watching Forces of Destiny and buying the Star Wars Adventure
well,
comics.
You're in the line,
I
right?
mean, it's just part of it there, but I'm not saying like, should they make Star Wars Adventure
it's an
comics?
Illness, and all of our fans out there understand
Especially
that.
if it costs $120 million to make a comic for this story where, Rey goes off and like feeds birds or something.
I would love that.
All of our listeners out there understand that even if they throw us a gonk movie, we're probably going to go see it, right? So that
we're all going to go see it. Yeah.
And I'm still pushing for Crumb, a Star Wars story, as we all know. So,
Salacious Crumb and the Pick of Destiny.
so vote for Salacious Crumb if he's still in the tourney. That pretty much wraps it up here. What do you guys think based on this argument, this debate? I think it was a little friendlier than our one about the worst lightsaber fight, which was probably our worst ever in terms of how
I still hate you.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding.
I'm still dead from the Rogue One versus Last Jedi one, so I don't know how I'm here.
But who do you think? Who do you side with? Is it Bill and Pat that they should make the movie, or is it James and I that they shouldn't? And what do you think? What are your thoughts on it? And let us know in the comments of the episode, and on emails or whatever. So that pretty much wraps up our Star Wars war for this week. Pat, I believe we have an expanded universe situation going on. So why don't you let us know what's happening in the fan community?
All right, we were doing some Twitter soul searching here the past few days, and we pulled up some good ones. This first one comes from one of our podcast listeners, Dom Kival, and he shared a picture of him and his wife donating their time wearing Jedi robes at the Rapid City Public Library for a Star Wars Day. And they got to take pictures with kids and their families. And if you guys want to check out those photos, I think we'll probably throw them in the episode description, or you guys can go check those over at the Rapid City Public Library Facebook page. Really cool. Huge salute to you. Guys, those are some pretty cool robes, weren't they?
They are. And let me tell you, William is a great American. He cheers for the University of Kentucky Wildcats. Love me some William. This is awesome, man. I'm really, really happy you guys got to do this. Hashtag BBN, hashtag Cats by 90.
It actually amazes me when you see like Chris Pratt, going out as Star-Lord to these hospitals and things for the kids, and then there's like this little grain of salt that's saying like, yeah, but I know that those guys are doing it for the right reasons, but you could almost argue, but there's some PR in there and they're kind of supposed to do it because they're in the spotlight. But like, I love to see when just like average, ordinary people like do this stuff because they just think it's the right thing to do, And I love that this guy went to, he goes to these places and he does these things just simply so the kids and their families can celebrate Star Wars, so they can just have fun being at the public library.
Exactly.
I mean, that's important to get kids to go there.
Yeah, we live in a dark world at times, and Star Wars is our escape. And the fact that William and his wife went to Rapid City Public Library, and he said on that library's Facebook page, you can see the photos, and they did photo ops with the kids, and I mean, it's just cool to have some escapism for yourself as an adult, put your bills away, put a Jedi robe on, head to the library, and give some kids a great time. They get to meet Jedi. They probably think they're meeting real Jedi. I mean, that's just wonderful. So props to you, William, and your wife. That is so awesome. Just like James said, you're not gaining anything from this. You're just doing it to be a great person and having a good time while you're doing it. So we need more of that. So cheers to you, William.
Yeah, plus on the positive side, getting kids into some Star Wars reading is not a half bad idea.
Yeah, that's right.
Get some real
Making some canon junkies,
there.
baby. There you go.
They can read that Kenobi standalone book.
Oh, I hate you.
Pat, do we have anything else?
Yeah, we got one more. I had to share a funny one because this one was pretty damn funny when I found it on Twitter. This one comes from Margot Sama, and it's a hilarious image of Poe calling Hux General Hugs in honor of that recent confirmation from The Last Jedi novelization. Guys, this was great.
Yeah, you know what's funny? The first time I saw the movie, which was at the world premiere in Los Angeles, I didn't know he said hugs.
Okay, humble brag. You thought I was going to let you get away with that. Get that out of here. Congratulations, by the way.
Sorry.
That was awesome.
I'm so sorry. I didn't know he said hugs. So I just thought he said hucks. I had no idea. And then I saw people talking about it on Twitter. I'm like, dude, I'm like Andy Bernard when he's watching that movie with Jim and Pam, and I just feel like I'm missing out on all the points.
Jack Black with the old lady.
Yeah,
yes. Yes.
Jim and Pam are movie super geniuses. But this is funny. This is great. That's awesome. Margot Sama, good job.
I always love being able to celebrate good art and funny art, and this is another example of someone who's kind of taking, I don't want to say liberties because it's kind of happened, right, in the movies, but I think they're having some fun with them kind of standing next to each other and kind of looking like they're in high school, but they, but they are rivals to some degree, what I mean? One's the jock and one's the nerd or something like that. But no, it's definitely good artwork and definitely good chuckles.
Yeah, after the fans brought it up to me on Twitter about the whole hugs thing, like now every time I watch The Last Jedi, I can't not think about that scene. So this just added a little bit of whipped cream to the top of that joke. So thank you, Margot Sama. All right, I think that wraps everything up for Resistance Expanded Universe this week. So we're going to send it back to John to wrap this puppy up.
All right, if you see anything in the fan community, whether it's a fan video, artwork, charity, whatever, even if it's your own work, just tweet it out and use the hashtag ResistanceEU, and we'll find it and we'll talk about it on the show. Be sure to subscribe to the Resistance broadcast on iTunes, SoundCloud, and YouTube. Leave us a 5-star rating and review on iTunes, and like our episodes on SoundCloud and YouTube. It really goes a long way, so if you could take a few seconds to do that, we appreciate it. For all of your latest Star Wars news, reviews, editorials, and information, go to our website, StarWarsNewsNet.com. James Baney, where can people find you?
Well, the quickest and easiest way to get a hold of me is on Twitter and Instagram at MeyerTrunks. But if you guys are subscribers on Reddit, on like our Star Wars or Star Wars speculation, these subreddits, we post our episodes there and we get comments, like people are talking about the episodes and they're getting into discussion, but every single week we get downvoted to 0. And I don't know what's going on with that, because it's just something in the subreddits. If you guys have the opportunity and you see us in those subreddits, go in and just like give us the upvote. It's not that our shows are engaging or people don't want it, because they're talking in the comments, but there's like they're just not aware to upvote, and then like one person will come in and be like, oh, they only have one upvote, down. And it's killing our shows that we're not getting exposure. And I've talked to the moderators about it, and they're aware of the problem, that it's not just us, it's everybody on that subreddit. So if you guys are on Reddit, go breathe life and upvote, not us, but everybody. Like if you like a story, upvote it, let it breathe, stop the clown, from the clowners from dragging everybody down.
Right on. I just signed up for Reddit too, so I'm trying to figure that out myself. Maybe I downvoted us by accident. I don't know.
Yeah. You're like, it's the one that points down.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah. I'm down with this.
Yeah.
All right. Pat, where can everybody find you?
You guys can find me not watching the digital version of The Last Jedi because I'm still waiting for my Blu-ray copy, which shouldn't be too much longer from now. So for all of you Blu-ray waiters, come join the crew with me. You guys can find me on Twitter at Ganon136 and Ganon136 over on the Cantina Forum. If you guys haven't already checked out the Cantina Forum, please do. 8,000 plus members, all talking Star Wars 24/7, 365. Thank you very much, and may the Force be with you.
Right on. Yeah, digital just came out a couple days ago, and we have, I don't know, what are we, about 12 days away from the Blu-rays being out for The Last Jedi. Bill Sheehy, where are you at, buddy?
You guys can find me on my hut in Tatooine watching the digital version of The Last Jedi and then waiting 12 days later to get the physical copy.
Dedication.
There you go. Absolutely. You can find me on Twitter at Star Wars Bill. Thank you guys so much for coming up and talking to me at Lexington Comic Con. I had a lot of fun. We got a video coming out soon. Really, really looking forward to bringing you that. I had a lot of fun doing that, and I hope you guys enjoy it. So may the Force be with you.
Awesome. And I am John Hoey. You can find me on Twitter at Johnny Hoey and writing and editing over at StarWarsNewsNet.com. Thank you for listening. Please keep spreading the word to anyone you know that likes Star Wars, as our shows are easy to find, easy to listen to, plenty of platforms, and the best way to spread the word of our show is by word of mouth. So anyone you know that likes Star Wars, just let them know about the show, have them check it out, and hopefully they come on board and join the resistance. Be sure to vote on those hashtag Star Wars March Madness polls every round so we can finally determine definitively who the coolest Star Wars character of all time is. They're easy to find by just looking up that hashtag. We'll be right back at you with a brand new show on Monday morning with the next round of character matchup polls to vote on, the Sweet 16. And make sure you're subscribed and ready for our next transmission right here on the Resistance broadcast.